Welcome to Politically Connected, a podcast on everything politics and governance in Africa. Here we unpack the complexities of people, policy, and power. I'm your host, Diana Ngao,
aka Madam Speaker, and I am Chaka,
aka the Bishop.
Karibuni mabibi na mabwana kwa muktasari huu.
Karibu. Glad to have you guys back here with us again. As you can see, the train is still moving forward. Got up for the consistency. We are glad that you are here.
What is it called in Naitangwa? Madaraka Express.
Madaraka Express ndio hiyo. Tunaendelea na hii journey ya Politically Connected. Our aim really is to raise a civic consciousness of the continent. So, welcome to this train. In today's episode, we are going to really discuss what public-private partnerships, or in other words, PPP, mean. And in the most recent history, at least for Kenya, it's what we all know synonymously. There's even a live hashtag called Stop Adani, which we learned, by the way. The Stop Adani hashtag actually started in 2010.
Ah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but not in Kenya's interest. Adani was not in Kenya in 2010. Or maybe it is.
It's as old as our new constitution.
Imagine, 14 years, the hashtag Stop Adani. But anyway, Chaka, while I was reading this, when I was reading through documents and trying to understand who this Adani group, I came across a news headline by Al Jazeera saying, what is this? What new thing has Adani been accused of? And even before I read the article, I was like, kwani wamefanya vitu mingi aje? Right?
They have a rep.
They seem to have a track record. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's I think we're in a season of a lot of questions that linger and go unanswered. And I think even a lot of people are anxious about the Adani group more from a place of mistrust.
Ooh.
Yes.
Hapo umegonga.
Because most people may not even be able to tell you what it's about, what's going on, what's wrong, what the issues are. But just, these guys are selling our airport. They are capable of it, probably, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. They can't sell an airport. They are leasing it to Adani. But I understand the thing for mistrust, because I don't know if there's any government that has been able to govern people without trust. And I guess that's why most people are maybe even hopping onto the Stop Adani train, because they haven't really understood what it is, because there's so much mistrust with the government that they think the government is capable of selling them for 2 bob.
There's something we've said on this show, and that is that there's sometimes very high-level political games that happen unbeknownst to us. And the question I have, or that comes to my mind, other than that issue of mistrust, these two issues can coexist. Are we also pawns in a political game?
Do you want my real answer?
Yes. Kabua.
Of course we are the pawns. Of course we are the pawns, because, yeah.
Because I'm finding it interesting. Okay, I was going to say who blew the lead on Adani. Yes, there were the Kenya Airports Workers Union who were striking because they were fearful of losing their jobs, or at least their job security.
Yeah.
But I find it interesting, and I found myself thinking about this as this Adani came to front and center. You'll recall during Maandamano, we occupied Parliament.
Yeah.
We wanted to occupy State House. Why did we want to occupy JKIA?
Because it was a time when the Adani group deal had come to light.
What was wrong with it at the time? Was it the airport workers who were complaining about it?
No. It was actually I don't know whether it's a lawyer. It's called Nelson Omen. I don't know. Forgive me. I don't know whether he's a lawyer, but I remember on Twitter him, and then there's also Senator Onyonka of Kisii. They just started speaking, and I think also Okia Mtata, the Senator of Bungoma, also started speaking about this Adani group deal that seems to be done in opaqueness, and there's really we don't know exactly what contract the government has gone into with Adani. Yeah, and that was during the unrest.
Yes.
Yeah, the Gen Z's unrest. I see you from a mile away. Are you trying to say that this is someone who's feeding people fodder?
I don't put it past our political space. I think it's possible that there are genuine grievances, but there also may be people taking advantage of the situation.
Let me tell you what I think.
Yes.
I honestly think that prior to the uncovering of the Adani deal or the PPP between the government and Adani, the government was really trying to create a ground of acceptance that we cannot manage our airport, so we need to get these people from where. And you know how Kenyans love people from abroad, man. The rest of us are not as competent as people from outside these borders. So for me, I feel like they were creating a ground of acceptance. The leaking roofs, the power outages at JKIA, they were just small steps that to me, when I look back, I'm like, oh, this was what you guys were doing. You were seeding the ground of acceptance for you guys to come and say, you know what, tumejaribu. We've tried managing this airport, and it's a logistical hub for East Africa. We can't let it just go like this. So let's bring people from outside who have managed other airports. So I feel like there was a ground on acceptance. I feel like the introduction of Adani was create a problem, provide a solution.
So we then agree that it's a game with several battlefields.
For sure. Yes. I mean, it's not as straightforward as it seems.
Exactly.
But my question here is, why must we pick I don't call it the worst, but the companies that have the worst reputation? Why must we pick them? Even if it's a PPP deal, like, okay, sawa, the Kenyan government says, hey guys, we're broke, we don't have funds to be able to do this, but we have this wonderful vision of what JKIA would look like. Do we have any private investors who would want to come in? And then some people come in. Why must we always pick, or let me not say we, because the Kenyans are never involved in this, it is the ruling elite who are involved. Why must they pick the worst of the worst? Like, look at during the last general elections, we had Smartmatics, which had serious reputational issues in how they manage elections in different countries, from Philippines down to Venezuela. But we picked them to manage our elections. And then we say free and fair elections. Someone said this was the freest and fairest elections Kenya's ever had. Hey!
In a room full of governors.
Imagine.
And the father of modern democracy.
Yeah, so my question is that I'm not opposed to private and public partnerships, but it is the credibility and the credibility of this organization or this private investor.
I would counter, not on the reputation issue, but by asking why a foreign entity should even come in to begin with.
Yes.
Because this is a national strategic asset. This is our international border.
It is the gateway to the region.
To the region. And not only why should we hand it over to a foreign entity, even if we were to hand it over to private control, some assets are so critical that in the public interest, there needs to be some serious consideration of the implications. So the fact that the facts of this deal are only coming to light now. And it's one of the things that has been brought before the court by Kenya Human Rights Commission and the Law Society of Kenya, that public interest is at stake and public participation was not sufficient under Article 10. And
for this government deal with Adani? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that is new information to me.
It's one of the issues that has come to light. And government has a poor track record ever post 2010 of aligning with that constitutional principle of public participation.
There is no. Do they even have a measure of what public participation is? I mean, it's just tick, tick. Is there like
they always seem to want to circumvent it, and I think it's why, even with respect to the unions, someone like Kotu Boss was saying that, look, you should have engaged the unions from early on. But nonetheless, foreign entities notwithstanding, I think going back to the issue of being pawns in a grand political game, I find it curious that you see this Adani thing, the Adani deal, the JKIA deal, has a very long history. I came to find when I was doing my research. It stretches all the way back, not even to 2010 when the Stop Adani hashtag was there.
Yeah.
It goes back to 1996. Yes.
Adani?
Meshikwa na butwa.
Wow.
No,
wait.
Not Adani.
Oh yeah.
It's actually a JKIA issue.
Okay.
Because what came to the fore in 1996 is that a new terminal was needed.
Yeah.
And that the one that had been, the JKIA had been built for a capacity of 2.5 million passengers. So discussions started as far back as 1996 on getting a new terminal.
Yeah.
Moi is president. When Kibaki becomes president and Vision 2030 is being crafted, the addition of a new terminal and new runway becomes a part of Vision 2030. It was embedded deep in there.
Yeah.
And so at that time, after Vision 2030, this thing called the Greenfield Project is born. And at this point in time, the Minister for Transport is John Mishuki. And it goes to tender, and some 2 Chinese companies get the tender award. Now, with the political intrigues at the time, unrelated to the transport issue, John Mishuki is moved from transport after he gave us seatbelts and brought sobriety to the public service vehicle sector. Amos Kimunya comes in. I was saying must because as soon as I said that, I see Boni Khalwale saying Kimunya must go.
To stop corruption at the treasury, Kimunya must go.
That's the image that came to my mind.
Yeah, so Amos Kimunya comes in and he cancels the tender.
You can cancel a tender once awarded?
He cancelled it, yes. It happened. What's interesting is I think this is happening in 2011. So we are approaching the transition
to the new constitution.
To the new first government under the new constitution in 2013. Now, at this point in time, a number of things were happening. The person who had brought these Chinese who had won these tenders was somebody infamously known as James Bond, aka Jimmy Wanjigi.
Okay.
Gafla
Class, are you
Bingo.
attentive?
So 2013, by 2011 it's cancelled. 2013 Uhuru comes into power. James Bond is in with the ruling elites, but his pet project was the SGR.
I was even about to ask you about that. But
Yes, his
I'm
pet
glad
project
we're
is the
leading
SGR.
there.
And as he said recently, this is in the public domain, he says that actually SGR was supposed to be entirely private and government was supposed to give land, and he was tunyuat. They took it away from him. And it became a government affair with government involvement. And there's an article in the Standard that was highlighting how at this point in time, Jimmy Wanjigi is now preparing to go to court. This is shortly after Uhuru was coming to power. And his lawyer at the time, according to the article, was Grand Mullah. And so...
Hey, it just keeps getting interesting.
There's a government function, I don't know at which hotel. And then President Uhuru Kenyatta bumps into Grand Mullah and asks him, Vita ni ya nini? Let's talk. Shortly after that, SGR Maneno's quiet down, and within a week or two, the Greenfield terminal is re-awarded, or it continues with the same contractors who had gotten it. Yes.
Amos Kimunya had told them cancelled.
Yeah. So, endeleeni. So this is around 2013. But they still, again, Jimmy Wanjigi has talked about being involved in the Greenfield project. After this, I don't know quite what happens. It's not easily accessible in the public domain. Maybe it's one of his interviews he's talked about it. Come to 2016, it's cancelled. The Greenfield project is cancelled again. At this point in time, 4 billion has already been paid.
To them.
Yes. And there was a groundbreaking ceremony that cost 70 million Kenyan shillings.
For a groundbreaking ceremony. That could fund a whole program.
Yeah.
70 million.
It could fund several programs. So, it's cancelled in 2016, and there's no significant project we hear of after that pertaining to
Greenfield.
a new terminal expansion of a runway.
Actually, governor. Oh, wait.
The next thing we hear surrounding the major project surrounding JKIA is the proposed takeover of Kenya Airports Authority by KQ.
I remember that saga.
Yes. And it was very interesting. Again, at the time, there were political intrigues surrounding that, but it was torpedoed. It doesn't go through. Why? I give that long history to highlight that issues surrounding JKIA are not new. They are not immune to the political realm. In fact, the politics has greatly influenced issues surrounding JKIA. Intricately. So, come ADANI Group. Yes, there are questions surrounding ADANI, and personally, I don't even think it should be given to a foreign entity.
Absolutely.
And I'll give you a very good example why.
Yeah.
But I'm also wondering whether this vitriol and anger is being manufactured, and we're being used as pawns.
That could be a possibility. However, the blowing of the lead of the deal was for the good, for people to know. Because I mean, JKIA is it's not a protected area.
It is.
It is a protected area.
Yes.
But I'm just saying, like, that is our airport. Our airport as Kenyans. It's a matter
Yes,
of
a sovereign asset, yes.
of public interest. So for whoever blew the lead on the Adani deal and what was going to happen or what has happened, because to be honest, I actually think that the contract has already been signed. It's just that because of all this uproar, is now they are saying, no, we've just been in negotiations, just downplaying what really happened behind closed doors.
So,
just like the Gen Z protest that started genuinely, someone somewhere may have seen it's possible that someone somewhere who may, when you tell us that whole long history on the intrigues about JKIA and expanding it, and how political players come involved and either cancel tenders, it's possible there's someone who's also adding fuel to this very genuine fire and concern around the Adani deal. So, we have seen in the past very many, I want to call it political joyriders. When they joyride through an opportunity and they sail through into government or an elective seat. And then because of riding that wave, we see them and they're like, wow, look, you're such a hero. Only for them they're dead on arrival. Once they ingia, there's really nothing they do for the people. So possibly, we could be pawns.
And the thing is, the question that then arises is, what would have happened if the lead had not been blown? And you see, other than the fact that Adani has controversy surrounding it and it's a foreign entity, we're handing this sovereign asset over for 30 years. Yes. 30 years they would have control over it, an international border.
That is so serious.
The ministry responsible for the international border, other than Ministry of Transport, because of for obvious reasons. The immigration.
And the interior.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a national security issue.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it
this is our national border, international even. Another question that arises, as I mentioned, I don't even think it should go to a foreign entity. That Kibaki principle of us looking inwards to do certain projects is key, because even at least with the Greenfield, we weren't giving it over to a private entity to control it. And the example I was going to give of how it's possible for us to do certain major projects internally is LAPSET.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, LAPSET was tax revenue plus bonds and a bit of private investment.
Yeah.
And if you compare this Adani deal or the new terminal with LAPSET, the new terminal under the Adani deal is worth $1.8 billion. LAPSET was about 25 billion USD. So it's more than 10 times, which means it's possible. Even if we were to say, I know the argument may be, we don't have a finance bill.
Yeah.
So revenue raising measures are not there, so what do we do? My counter to that is that there's a quadrant that has to do with importance and urgency. The quadrant is there are things that are important and urgent. There are things that are important but not urgent. There are things that are urgent but not important. And there are things that are neither
important or urgent.
Yeah. So this expansion of the terminal, since 1996.
Yeah.
Yes, it's important. It's vitally important for several reasons. For business, you said it's gateway to the regional hub. We now have the African Continental Free Trade Area. its movement of goods and services, its economic sense. It's vitally important. Creation of jobs, business, tourism. There are many reasons why we should do it. The question is, how urgent is it, and should it be done in the way that it's being done?
To be honest, I don't think it should be done the way it's been done. But because of also how important, the significant importance it has as being a national, or actually an international airport of a really important gateway to Africa, because East Africa also is a gateway to the rest of Africa. I mean, I'm with you there. Why must we give a foreign entity this mandate? I'm really seeing that even if Adani was not muddied with all this scandal around them and the work that they have done, the current leadership does not have the interest of the country at its heart, because I'm wondering, why not raise the capacity? We have the capacity within our country. And that's why we see Kenyans who go abroad and are really topping the ranks of such big companies, from Facebook to Google to SpaceX. I'm sure we'll find a Kenyan there. We have great minds. But the government is... And maybe I'm not just saying the government of the day. I'm just saying time and time again, when it is called up, when they had an opportunity to know what, we can raise this talent. We can be able to do this. Just the way Kibaki had that philosophy. They never rise to the occasion. It's always either, you guys want jobs? Let's take you to this other country. You get jobs. You know, you guys want good roads? Let us call the other guys, people from developers or contractors from out of the country to do it. And it just shows that we are living in a current political climate that is more extractive than it is thinking about how to develop a developing country, because we are a developing country. And I guess the whole plan, even for Vision 2030 and all these things, all these visions and plans that we have, is to ensure that we get to the point that we are called a developed country. But how do you develop a country?
Yeah, we're 6 years away from 2030, and by that time we're supposed to be a middle income economy. Not to be pessimistic, we've done well, but we could be so much farther ahead. And also just to say that it's not to disparage PPPs in general.
Exactly.
I think it depends on, key considerations, like, what we were saying about it being a sovereign asset, national security,
and also
the like.
I feel like also the credibility, PPPs also need to include, because this is public. This is public funds or land or whatever that you're being...
That's chapter 12 of the Constitution.
Yeah, there must be some sort of scorecard in terms of your track record. And it's the same issues we keep having with our elected leaders time and time again. We're meant to elect people based on a certain scorecard that we all agreed on, that is in the Constitution. Integrity, accountability, transparency, and all the rest of the other... that's in chapter 10. Isn't that's article 6? No.
Say again?
Chapter 10 of the Constitution.
Yes.
That talks about the national...
Public participation is chapter 10.
Oh, chapter 6, sorry. Yes. Chapter 6 of the Constitution. That talks about...
leadership and integrity.
Exactly, and all the values that we have agreed. So that's a scorecard that when it comes to anything public and even private, that we've agreed as Kenyans, these are the values that we espouse. But it just doesn't seem... It seems that it is... Nizo vitu zenye zina... Oh, let me talk in English. It's those things that are written.
We are international.
I know, we are international. We took on an international audience. It's those things that are written, but really...
Tunataka message ifike Adani.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have said that in English as well.
Alifanya hiyo purposely. Anyway, we it's things that are written but not practiced, and it's not practiced because of the impossibility. It's not practiced by design, because that's where now we have all these opaque deals. I have a question for you, Chaka. I don't know if you're ready for it. Was SGR a PPP?
It was supposed to be, but it ended up being a government project. Now, there's an element of PPP because remember that the Chinese are involved in this, and they're supposed to recoup their money for a period of time. And I think they were also involved in providing us with some of the engines that we use. So in a sense, it was PPP, but what James Bond had been arguing is that it was supposed to be entirely private.
Oh, private.
Entirely private.
Okay.
The government was to donate land. But having said that, it goes back to the fact that not enough Kenyans are able to speak to such issues or have an awareness of such issues. I go back to the question of, had the lid not been blown, would we have known about it? And I think, again, taking a step back to what this podcast and this platform is meant to achieve, which is awakening the civic consciousness of Africa. It shows the importance of vigilance and public participation, not just by invitation from the government, but as an exercise of a right. Because, yes.
There's something Honorable Martha Karua says, and she has said it so many times again, there's that the cost of freedom is eternal vigilance.
Indeed. Yeah, and I believe that we are increasingly getting into a space where we can't just wait to be invited. We have to ask for our rightful place at the table, because, as this illustrates, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu.
You've said it, hadi nimesikia chills, because I think that is where we have been for a long time as the public that are spectators in this political arena. It seems that we have been on the menu because we have lost so much. Yes, we have made some gains, but we've also have lost so much by not knowing some of the opaque things that happen in the political arena. You know, we seem to be just not on the table, but the menu. So we keep talking about this table, but kumbe we don't know that they are eating us for breakfast. And but you've said something very, very profound, that we can't be invited just for public participation. We need to be part of that public participation.
Yeah, we need to exercise it as a right.
Long even after that period of public participation, and long before they call for public participation, we need to be engaged. But that's something that really also inspires me, is what I am seeing on social media. Between millennials and Gen Zs actually going to Parliament website, downloading bills and telling guys, hey, Wase, did you know that there's an AI bill or a bill on what do they call it, ground nuts, a fundraising bill? Like, I've been seeing videos that really educate people, talking about these are the bills that our members of parliament are about to discuss. This is what they're proposing. What does this mean to us? Because I mean, sometimes also reading a bill, you can get lost in comprehension. But I really am happy that we can see the civic consciousness rising, and us understanding that governance is not just left to the ballot. It's to the ballot in terms of like you choosing your governor, your MCA, your MP. It is in conjunction.
Yeah, and it's something that's about the issues you've mentioned and the documents that people are downloading. They all have something in common, the ones you've mentioned. Those are documents which people can access because they are parliamentary, parliamentary documents. What am I driving at? One of the reasons this Adani deal is suffering from opaqueness is because whereas bills can be debated, we can get to know what's being debated on the floor of parliament or what's coming up, on how do you access information that is in the domain of the executive? And some information is available, but some key information is usually not available. So ultimately, my point is, part of what goes hand in hand with our ability to be able to exercise this right to public participation is
access to information.
Exactly.
It's access to information. So
Yes.
there needs to be more transparency in the executive, meaning the ministries, in terms of who is being awarded what, when, why did you pick them. Yeah, that's true. Has the contract of the Adani come to light, the actual contract that was being negotiated, has it come to light?
Sijaiona mimi.
Hata mimi sijaiona.
Alama za dukuduku. Maybe now that it's a matter that's in court,
It will come out.
I doubt it.
Do you remember your second favorite politician? In an interview with, I think he was Hussein Mohammed then when he was in Citizen. And he was being questioned about the SGR contract because there was some controversy against it. And he's like, you want me to nini tomorrow?
It actually wasn't Hussein Mohammed.
It wasn't Hussein?
It was, that interview was done
I remember
at
it was
State
in
House.
Mombasa. It was State House, Mombasa.
One of the state houses.
Yeah.
And the person who asked that question was either, it wasn't Eric Latif, it was Mark Masai.
Oh, yes. That's true.
You want a copy of the contract? My friend, I'll get it to you tomorrow.
But till today, we've never seen the contents of the SGR contract.
Anyway, no comment. I don't know what to say. But point being that, public participation goes hand in hand with access to information.
Yeah, I think that really is the main point, because we can discuss Adani all and all the negatives in how they were awarded the contract, or the company itself and its track record. But really at the center of it all is an overriding lesson for all of us as Kenyans that eternal vigilance is what it costs. Is the price of freedom. It's what it costs us for us to be able to continue to guide. Did I just say that? For us to be able. I'm laughing because it seems I've picked up something from someone who I previously used to work for. They used to say to be able, and I used to ridicule a lot, and I'm realizing that I've picked it up. Anyway, yeah, but for us to continue enjoying the freedoms that is bestowed on us in the Constitution, it is not a matter of, yes, we can delegate our rights to our politicians, the ones that are in elected seats, but more importantly is for us to always every day remember our right of vigilance and protection and defending the Constitution.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so far as we want to keep breathing this air without being taxed for it.
Yeah. Kuna mtu alisema itafika hapo tutakuwa tunataksiwa kupumua.
Yeah, and I think it was really speaking to our ability to be able to live a dignified life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's even in the preamble of the Constitution, the dignity of the people of Kenya. Yeah, so there we have it. Alama za dukuduku when it comes to the Adani government deal concerning JKIA. For me, the parting shot is that we must be able to choose, or we must ask our parliamentarians or even the executive that even if you're coming into partnership with companies to be able to help us develop our country, it must be people of integrity. It must espouse what is in our Constitution in Chapter 6. And that's where now the trust will come in, because right now there's so much mistrust between the people and the government, because it just doesn't espouse what Kenyans aspire Yeah, and you, Chaka, what's your parting shot?
I think we're living in very interesting times, and this is not the last. We'll see. There may be another project, another transaction, which will come to light. And there's a saying. Allow me to wear my bishop hat. That God will keep putting you in the same situations until you learn the lesson you're meant to learn. So this is a lesson that we have to learn as a country, because if we've said here that this started in 1996, that lesson has to sink. And if we want to keep enjoying the right to complain, we must exercise the right to participate.
Yeah, and investigate. Yeah, there you have it. See you next time on Politically Connected, a podcast on everything politics and governance. Don't forget to follow us on our social media handles. Feel free to comment on YouTube your thoughts on the private partnership deal between the Adani Group and the government of Kenya.
Yeah. And subscribe to be able to keep getting new content.
Yani unani enjoy. See you next time.